Good morning. Hey, I'm Abel Zyl. I am the founder of Zyl Vardos. I build tiny houses, and I also do a live stream, which is this, Ask Zyl Live. And I am here to answer your questions. This is specifically for do-it-yourselfers and anybody getting through their own tiny house project, because I really want to see this kind of building continue to happen in this day and age and country. Without further ado, let's get started. My topic of the day, pardon the bright lights behind me, is how to inject creativity into your building process. That is kind of hard to do in this day and age because of all of the requirements and rules and particular materials that are required in a lot of residential building. But it is not by any means impossible. In fact, it is actually easy. If you get yourself into the right frame of mind, you can help but put creativity into your building process. Because if we can't be creative with the homes that we build, then what's the point? I say. I've made a point of like holding on to that little gem of little glimmer of light throughout my process as a builder. I've been building for 20 years. I've been building tiny houses for 10 years. It's been a double-edged sword. It's a really good thing. I think you guys have seen some of my builds. Here's a new one, which is known as the fuchsia. It's tucked into my shelter, so it's really hard to see any of the details, but it's a gorgeous house. It's a nod to the Craftsman-esque style. The Craftsman era is one of kind of handcraft and accentuates the use of lumber, which the Craftsman era had a lot of. Wow, yeah, I just kind of really can't get an angle on the features of this house, but I try to keep it moving in my builds. And here's one that it was one of the first designs I did for hire. It's a fortune cookie, and this is a new version of it. And here it is. Its shell is complete, and we're going on to finish the interior. Basically, I'm just trying to show you what kind of what makes it happen for me. Philosophically, it's to kind of keep it creative while you're building. So, I'd like to give you some tools to make that easier for you. And I'm doing this handheld at the moment because I've got it set up so I can show you a little bit of technique that I use, or that I used to use, I should say. I use different techniques now, but it's all based on this stuff for making curvature in your structure. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was there's somebody that is inspiring to me that actually is working with me right now. His name is Travis. He kind of can't help but build things by hand, and he like whittles these parts and puts them together in these amazing structures. He's built his own tiny house. He is currently building this amazing sauna. He built this incredible round building with Sunray Kelly, who's a legend in the Pacific Coast builders. Travis, the first thing when I thought of keeping it creative at the house, I thought of Travis, because he what he does is he kind of is a very unassuming and sweet, like peaceful guy, and so like he comes at building in that way. He's also like an electrician, and he has the moves to work with codes and stuff, but he basically puts his hands on a really wide variety of crafts, and he does copper work and woodwork. He works with steel and forging, and he just has a really wide range. So I think the lesson that can be pulled out of my encounter with him is, make peace with your building process. Don't close your mind to different techniques and materials. Here I'm flicking away. My phone just randomly decides to give me all of my notifications at once, and they fall down over the screen like this. I'm always kind of griping about the annoying aspects of technology because it's really hard to control all of it. Although technology is only there as a tool for us, and I have found that the technological tools that I use, one of them is this. I have a CNC router used primarily for wood, but we can do some other materials on it. Is to me a very apt creative tool. But you probably won't get into that right away. So I'm going to go on. Let's cut right to creating some shape in your building. And then I'll talk about some important points that will keep you going in a creative build process. And where I'm coming from is as a residential builder. So, like I start everything with Sketchpad. I started this live stream with a Sketchpad, but check this out. So, if I was to draw a house, at some point I'm like, well, why not make it like this, and then there's kind of a lot of ways we could go from here. I'm just kind of going crazy here. There's nobody says this might work, but a lot of builders will look at this and say, no. Why, why put yourself to the torture of making shapes? But they're really not all that hard, especially if you don't if you don't take them in different directions. Like if you take a shelter and you put the same shape on it in a repeating pattern, which is how roofs are often built, it's actually really easy to put together. This is how like trusses work, and so whoop, hey, I wasn't even aimed at the pencil. So see what I'm doing here is I'm showing you like if you line up the same shape over and over, then all you have to do, aside from stand these trusses that you make, is and all of this requires a modicum of building and layout experience, but that you can learn from any guide to framing. All you have to do, besides stand up these shaped trusses, is to put the surface on them, which in this case would be the roof. You can do this with walls and ostensibly floors. Most people don't really want curved floors, but plywood. If you use thinner plywood or if you use multiple layers, it wraps to a curve. So you might be looking at like sheets of plywood that go on the roof like this. Again, I am talking about homegrown projects here. If you're meeting code, if you're a builder and this needs to be engineered, then there's a little more to it than that, but it's not impossible because there are curved structures out there in the world. If you need to, go find the right engineer and get it done. But I'm talking about do-it-yourselfers. And I'm going to show you some of the basics on how to grab a curved roof line. So this brings me to my first tip. Okay, and then let's get the window out of the way. There we go. My first recommendation is to keep it simple. To some people, creativity means finding all the things they want to be part of their house and throwing it into the basket. And a lot of people who have never built before approach building like that. They look at Pinterest and they've watched TV shows and they have gathered all this information from various sources, and they're like, wow, I really, if I'm going to build a house, I want a washer and dryer, and I want a big screen TV, and I want a solar system, and I want this, and I want that. And what they don't realize is each one of those is like an independent system that takes some time to figure out. And if you've never built before, you can go hire somebody to do all of that, and it adds up a lot. And honestly, a lot of my tiny houses are, they don't have it all. They have a select, very functional set of appliances and systems, but they do not have it all. And that is how you keep the price, and that's how you make a project doable. Is you figure out everything you want, and then you cut out like half of it. Does that's kind of a weird analogy, but you include everything you want, and you cut out half of it, and you're something achievable for a first time project. If you've built before, then you know the drill. You know what budgeting and costs of having certain things done are a little better, and maybe it won't be such a surprise. So I am going to show you how to lay out a curved roof rafter, but let's make something simpler. The simplest shape we can do. I'll need a weight for my the hammer makes a great weight for my sketch pad. I'm just doing this handheld, guys, so sorry if I'm a little like jiggly, but so I'm gonna just go back to my original. My first tiny house was an arch top, and it kind of went like this. Well, just like that. And the main note here is for making a curved roof is that the walls are square on top, right? You want your walls to sit, your rafters to sit on your walls. That's a common for typical roof systems. So like if the wall is here, this is the top of a wall, you're looking at it from end, and the rafter passes over it. Builders have figured out that if you cut a notch in the end of your rafter, so it sits on the wall, and the depth of this notch, I won't go into that. That's framing technology, but I won't go into how deep to make your notch. But often you can, if you have enough rafter, you can make it intersect with the inside corner of the wall, and that's what you want. So I do the same thing when I make curved roofs, and in this case, I'm going to make this structure 8 feet wide on the outside of the walls, and by doing so, I can cut the arch from a single sheet of whatever sheet material you have. In this case, we're going to use, and again, this I'm gonna say something about code. This isn't a code building technique. It is functional, but I'm using this to demonstrate how you can create a curved roof structure with affordable materials. Again, this is targeted toward do-it-yourselfers, and you can make curved roof structure with one material that's readily available is 3/4 CDX plywood, and what we can do is take two of these patterns and glue and screw them together. So to make a repeating pattern to make those plywood rafters accurately, we need to repeat that, and we build ourselves a pattern. And I can do that right here, actually, believe it or not. I'll show you a really quick way to lay that out. So I'm going to get so it might take me a little bit of adjustment here as I get this. I have to turn the tripod head around, and I'm putting you up above my work table on this tripod. So pardon the process here, and I'm going to move until you can see approximately what's going on. I might just lower it down a little bit, so I want you to see the whole of the process. Okay, so what I'll do is I will, there we go. This is my CNC table, which makes a really great workbench. So let's get started. I'm just going to run through this really fast, but I've done this many times and it works. So I want this kind of an arch rafter, and we're going to make it in one piece. You can do longer things by piecing them together, but really don't want to get into that. So when I used to do this, I would, well, here, we'll start this way. I'll lay out this, remember I said the top of the wall is oh boy, there you guys go. Hold on, come back. Hi, there you are. Sorry about that. Let me lock things down. The tripod just slowly drooped itself away. Okay, let's aim you back this way again. And there you go. Okay, in fact, I do want to look down for this part. I'm going to get right to the corner of the plywood here. So, yeah, sorry. Okay, here we go. Making the edge of the wall, which, let's just assume our wall framing is going to be 3.5 inches wide. And so I'm going to put that mark right on the bottom. And that's where one of the curves is going to start. What I want to do is make this rafter, let's put the one on the other side. I'm not going to move the camera, but we'll get there. So I have this 3.5 inches on each end. That's going to sit on top of the wall. So the top of the wall would actually be under here. So I'll draw the rafter on this sheet of plywood like this. So in the past I would have done this with chalk. It's my way of sketching shapes. Let's get you back up. There you are. And I've got a couple questions. Hey there. It kind of looks like this. I want this to be about yay tall. I'm going to find the center of this sheet really quickly by 48 and 48, and that gives me a way to create some symmetry. You may not want to be symmetrical, and that's kind of the point here. We're talking about creativity. You don't have to have a symmetrical roof when you do this. So from this side, I'm going to go up and over. And so there's a couple ways to do this. They came in a little high over here, but we can make a half pattern. That would be like a really good way to do it. And then I'm going to draw the full line just so you can see it and not have to imagine that it's half. But you can make a half pattern and then flop it over. Although we could do that today if you want. So I want the thickness of this rafter to be useful. If we're making 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood and you want to put any sort of insulation, you should make it like 4.5 or 5 inches deep. Again, this is not code, you guys, so like, you know, somebody's going to say, well, roof insulation is supposed to be such and such amount. So, okay, so 4.5. Right, so I'm actually way down here. So I'm going to redraw my line a little bit because I want to change its scope a little bit. I actually am going to make it lower because I want more of these to fit on a sheet. I'm just kind of telling you what the process is for me. And there's a new curve, a little less bellied. Too much of belly and you'll only get like 4 of them out of one sheet, which is kind of, you'll use the offcuts for other stuff. So then I'm going to do something that builders have done from time immemorial. I'll move my coffee because I'll knock it over. And I'm going to use a batten. So I have a hammer and some nails. A batten is a thin, flexible stick that you can flex to the curve that you want. So I'm going to put a nail on the top of the part that I want, and I'm going to put another nail on the top of the curve that I want. And I'm going to push the batten to the curve that I'm looking for. What it's going to do, incidentally, is, I don't know if you can see this, it is going to run straight to this nail. So, again, this is a really crash course in batten use. I'm going to pull the end, the free end down until it just pulls off of the support nail, and then I'm going to let it touch again and put another nail way down here. And this carries the curve through. I can't do that on the end here because I don't have anything to nail to. So I'm going to push just a little bit. Maybe you want it to kick straight. You know, that's totally up to you. I'm going to push a little bit of curve. So basically the batten is a way for me to approximate a nice curve. So I'm going to get a Sharpie so you guys can see it. And I'm going to draw in And I kind of hold the batten in place from above. I kind of pin it down, and then Sharpie's like picking up a ton of chalk, which is kind of a problem, but you know, big deal. We'll just use another Sharpie if this one gets clogged up. And I'm pulling my line. I could do like a whole series on curved structure making with battens, but it's because it's so much fun. So let's see. There's a line. Here, I'll pop you off so you can have a look. So the Sharpies made a really smooth line. The chalk was my guide, like my visual. Chalk is, you know, it's just like a sketch in full scale sort of thing to do. So I love using chalk for sketching things out full size because it's just easy to use and it comes off the wood fairly well. So then I would want the accurate kind of pull back from that. So I'm going to, I'll use a pencil. I'm going to just say 4.5 inches depth. I'm going to put a few of those 4.5 inch depths on there, like every foot or so. And there's various ways to do this. I'm doing it, you know, in a, and I've met my my 3.5 inch mark way over here. Sorry, I'll have to bring the camera over and show you, but it's just because I like measured up before. There's my, whoa, there you are. There's my 3.5 inch, like this is the part that sits on top of a wall, so to speak. And again, for those of you that are late in coming, I'm making a rafter that you could sit on top of an 8-foot wide structure. You could make a bunch of these with a jigsaw and nothing else, and build yourself a roof. So onward. So to get the lower position, oh, here's the other trick that I do is I move my nails exactly that amount, and it'll. So I'm making a nail mark here. I make a little circle, and I'm going to yank those nails out and move them 4.5 inches down. So some of them are going to be under the batten and some of them are going to be over. If you use the same general pattern of nails, you're going to get to your line. But I'll save, wait, I need this one here. I'm going to save some of them because if you get too many going at once, then you'll crank your batten into weird curves. But let's put this back here. So there's the inner, and then we'll do the exact same trick with the nail in the same spot. You know what I mean? Because that's, the batten will do the same, if you treat it the same way, it'll behave similarly, and the curves will look good together. If you use a different formula, then you get a different curve. So same thing, I'm going to, just by eye, I'm going to push the batten a little bit here. And again, you can be creative with this and make different curves. There's nothing wrong with that. This one's floating out a little bit. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to push it up by hand when I draw the line. Now it sounds a little inaccurate, but it actually comes out really well in practice. Here we go again. I'm drawing on top of the batten, same as before. And right down to the end. And that line looks way better because the Sharpie wasn't full of chalk. And there you go. So I won't go into the details about how to transfer these up onto something, but you can just take a jigsaw and cut that piece out and make an accurate center line. That's easy to do. Plywood is, you can check your plywood to be sure, but it should be, let's see, I'm 96 1/4, so, but I want the rafter to actually be 48 because, you know, the place where I live, everything is 48 and 96. This is plywood that comes from Asia, as much of it does these days, so I'd like to say, don't fret too much about that because domestic plywood, there's some good domestic plywood for construction plywood, but the rest of it's crap, and it's just, we're in a global market these days. So this stuff, this Lawan is a wonderful material. It's sustainably grown, or should be. It should have a rating, so check that. And it's made to better standards than some of our similar plywoods. And mahoganies in America are really expensive and hard to get, and they're endangered. So don't use. I don't recommend using like Central American mahoganies for that matter. Anyway, details, plywood. So there is. Let's go look over the curve we made. So here's the center line. You can cut right along there, and there's our curve, and this is the part that would sit on top of the wall. I mean, I guess if I was going to be accurate, I would either probably just continue that curve, and there'd be a little space where it sat on top. It's no big deal. But you could frame a house with this half rafter pattern. You'd make a full pattern, perhaps, or you could just use the half to trace out shapes on the plywood and cut full arches. And then you don't need, if you have full arches, there's no splice or overlap. I would recommend, if you were using 3/4 plywood to make a curved roof structure, that you glue 2 of them together, lay them down on the floor where it's flat, because you can induce a curve. You know, the way they make skateboards, they take layers of wood and they press them into the curve they want and glue them. Well, you want to lay it on a very flat surface, put some construction adhesive between them and some screws, and you've got an 1.5-inch thick plywood rafter. Again, I just kind of keep wanting to stress this because there's a lot of people needing to meet particular codes with tiny houses these days, and if you're needing to meet a code, there are other ways to do it, and if you need to ask me about it, I can explain a little better about what it takes to meet code. But if, you know, I do consults and stuff, but it gets complicated depending on what and where and who you're talking to and who you're getting a certification from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and that's fine, because that's how it is building houses anyway. But if you're just doing your own thing, you can make a strong structure with a doubled 3/4-inch plywood rafter. So then I wanted to talk about one other important thing to achieving a creative build, and then we're going to look at some tools, because I don't know, everybody has tools, and everybody's interested in tools, and well, I'm going to look at some of my favorites here in just a few minutes. So the thing that I want to talk about was using reclaimed materials. Lots of people ask me about that, and reclaims are, I talked about that in the last one. I talked about reclaimed windows and how it can be really tricky to use pieces and parts like that. It can also be really rewarding, but expect to put a little bit of time into it. And as a builder, often reclaims cost as much because of the restorative process as something new. So it's just something to keep in mind. If this is your first build, you might want to go after new kind of pre-prepped materials. Again, there's a little bit of a clash of the worlds, because when you talk about being in ultra like creative, like homegrown building methodology, using whatever you have around will give you an incredible structure. So I have one other recommendation to make that'll help you as a first-time builder. Hire an artist to do part of your house, or parts of your house if you can. If you can't afford it, do it yourself. But or you know, watch there's how-to videos are interesting. Take them with a grain of salt, and like look at the comments and see what people are saying, because some of them make it sound really easy, and they're kind of glossing over the facts. Like even what I was just showing you is ostensibly not that easy, but then nothing in building is. So there you go. You know, keep your build as simple as possible, and you have a far greater likelihood of achieving a shell and a structure at the end of the day. When I say end of the day, I mean the end of several months, because that's how long it takes if you're building it yourself. The other thing I wanted to say was hire an artist. That's a really good way to inject a little bit of fresh material into your build, especially if you're not used to kind of crafting with building materials yourself, you can hire somebody to make like a custom cabinet door, do a painting on a cabinet door, or I'm just giving examples. Do some metal work for a lighting fixture, or you know what I mean. You can hire a stained glass artist to make a custom window for you. Just one will really put a good spin on, you know, just one stained glass window. Like I see these builds, and they're all like vinyl windows, and you know, siding, and like the color is not very interesting. And I'm not being snobby. I'm just saying, you know, it's so easy to put a little bit of something on there that really, you know, like sets it off. One stained glass window, one, you know, eyebrow dormer. Again, dormers get more complicated, but it's all possible. But be patient, be easy on yourself. You know, don't be lazy. You have to work if you're going to get a build done, but be easy on yourself. You know, kind of philosophically, don't beat yourself up. Everybody needs time to get from point A to point B, even if they've been building for years and years like me. I still have these things that I struggle with internally, like, how am I going to get through that? And I do, but you know, it just takes a little persistence. Persistence is the best thing. So, Tiny House Ireland asks, is there a good book on design, layout, etc.? I think the best, the best basic building book for getting a house together is it's the Building Construction Illustrated. Sorry, I had to think about it for a second. Building Construction Illustrated is a classic. You can't go wrong with that book. It's amazing. Check that out. If you're talking about creative design, there isn't, I mean, it's all in parts and pieces everywhere. You know, I don't know. Ask me questions with the Ask Zyl Live, and I can help with certain elements, because I've kind of been through a lot of it as time goes on. But other than that, like I'll if I find something else, I will let you guys know. But Building Construction Illustrated is a good tome for just how the various parts of the house, the joists and insulation and the envelope and membrane materials, like the basic things, though. It doesn't get too complicated, doesn't get too codey, and that is why that book has so much value. And it's ubiquitous. You can find it the world over. So there you go. And you also said something about holistic design. Again, there are some other really good books. A lot of them came out of the like Back to the Land era, where there are these like, you know, build your own house in the country kind of hippy dippy books, and there's some really good stuff out there. But they contain a variety of information, and sometimes they're loaded with the kind of the popular ideas of that era, which some of them are a little woo-woo, meaning they're a little unobtainable. They'll have, you know, they'll go into a chapter about creating, you know, methane recycling systems, and those are actually really complicated and not easy to do. So there you go. So I then, just because it's fun, want to talk about tools. Let's see. Let's set up the workbench here. Here's sashes for my round window. Again, talking about making things out of plywood. This is a marine plywood that's 1 inch thick. It's incredibly beefy stuff. It's kind of expensive, but you know, it's structurally superior. But let's set up the workbench and look at some tools, because I love them. So here we go. Aha, okay. Perfect. Okay, and let me get one more light over here. And there we go. Smashing. Okay. As you guys have kind of seen before, here's my go bag. This I'm not going to go through everything in my go bag. Maybe I'll do a bag dump someday. Actually, let me turn you around here because it'll make it easier for me to see if I'm actually in the camera. There you go. Sweet. Okay. Here's my go bag. Kind of my favorite bits and pieces here are these little drivers. These are Milwaukee. They're light. They take a 12-volt battery, and I know some builders might scoff at these, but they have a lot of power and will drive very large screws. Not huge screws or legs, but they'll drive the stuff that you need to get through a building project. But really, I want to talk about interesting tools. So I'll be right back with one. Okay, there are certain tools in my life that get a lot of mileage, and this is one of them. It is a quarter cable, 6-inch orbital sander, and the reason that I'm touting this as a thing of wonder is that it's been going for 15 years. Still runs strong. Bearing is still operable. I'm going to put a new piece of sandpaper on it. It's got peel and stick, and I'll show you what it does. This is really economical. I buy sandpaper in these 100 disc rolls. It seems like a little bit, but when you add it up, it's like 1/4 the price of Home Depot easily, and it's much better sandpaper. So, better and like 1/4 the price. Again, I'm a builder, so I have access to some things. So the peel and stick, if it's not too cold, you just get it centered, stick it on, and you're good to go. Let's get some shaggy piece of wood. This piece of 2x10 with a bunch of print on it. Even this can be furniture. Clamps help when you're sanding. Put this one up right. And as does a dust mask. And I've got one of those in my Abel drawer. The sander isn't very loud, so I don't use hearing protection with it, but if you feel a tool is too loud, use hearing protection. My light's a little glary. Move it to the side, maybe. There we go. All right, so this baby is notable for its raw speed. I consider it about 8 to 10 times faster than your typical small orbital sander, and that is what I truly love about it. Here, I'll show you a small orbital sander for comparison. Here's a DeWalt. This is common, known as a palm sander. Again, the cost between a palm sander and this isn't a whole lot different. I think this is like $150 and this is like $100. But I could be wrong. There's cheap orbital sanders. But the speed of like 8 to 10 times the material removal is totally wonderful. If you have a lot to sand, well, here we go. This has a speed control. Let's turn it all the way up. Done and done. I always sand like it's a, you know, life or death experience, but it's just because I want to get done with it really quickly. Sanding you get really tired of when you're a builder, so the faster you sand, the more you can get onto the good stuff, like making that really beautifully shaped rafter. So yeah, that's a sander. You could put some finish on that and make it into a bench. I like the character of wood. You know, this for interior stuff, this has some nice knots. It's just a board, it's just a piece of framing lumber, but it's all wood and it's all pretty. So keep that in mind. You don't have to buy fancy wood, you don't have fancy finish wood to build that table or desk or whatever. And that's another thing that will keep your build keep your build manageable, is to not have to be too particular about materials. Look at what's around you, and you will see a lot of stuff that you can use. Okay, I'm going to answer one more question. Tiny House Ireland asks, why not more corner cabinets? I've never seen them in a tiny house. There's two questions here. Also, what do you think of the Swedish dish drying cabinets and the laundry clothes drying cabinets? Well, cabinets have a basic function. Well, okay, so first I'll answer the corner cabinets. Yes, there are corner cabinets. Sometimes a regular corner cabinet just doesn't fit in a tiny house kitchen, and that's why I don't build a lot of, you know, like the corner cabinet with the lazy Susan. That's what I'm thinking of when you say corner cabinets. I do build cabinets that go in the corners, and often in my tiny houses I use that to contain the hot water heater. So win-win. If there's not enough room for a normal corner cabinet and you can put the hot water heater back there, the only thing is you have to make it accessible, but that's not impossible to do. You have to make one side of the cabinet come off, or, you know, it can have a door if it's accessible, or you can get to it from the outside, but that's a lot harder. But you can't cut off the access to your hot water heater after you put it in, because it is plumbing, and plumbing fails eventually, so you have to, any systems you need to be able to maintain, and the exception to that is that it's current practice in this country to put electrical wiring in the wall, and it always terminates in a box where you can maintain the ends of it, but the electrical wiring and certain plumbing is allowed to be hidden in the wall. Usually though, joints you want to be exposed, unless they're considered permanent. So that's my thing about cabinets. So the Swedish dish drying cabinets and laundry clothes drying cabinets, that's a matter of taste. They're fine, they're wonderful, but again, it's just it's something that may be in vogue one day and not the next. Not that they aren't functional. The northern cultures have a reputation for simple functional architecture, simple to a fault, not a fault, but in this culture it's perceived as oversimplified. The true like Scandinavian like living space is seen as a little oversimplified, but that's absolutely a beautiful thing, and I think that is really relevant in the tiny house movement. But a particular kind of cabinet is just up to your taste, basically. There's like dish drying racks that sit over the sink, and it's not that big of a deal, because honestly, like, you can throw a towel on the counter and put your wet dishes out, and if you're not doing a massive quantity of dishes, like, they don't really drip that much. You know, you wash them, you know, shake the water off, and you set them on a towel, and they're dry later, and you don't have to worry about building a fancy cabinet to hold them. So that's my feeling. Laundry drying, I don't think you should dry laundry in a tiny house, because we're already dealing with enough moisture, unless you're running like a dehumidifier to make up for the fact that you're putting extra water into the air. So use an exterior vented clothes dryer or a condensing clothes dryer, or dry your laundry on a line out in the yard if you have the weather to do that. Here it's wet all winter and you have to figure out something else. Okay, then I am going to look at another tool that I dearly love. I use figure 8 winds on my cords, and darn if my carpenters still don't. They'll do figure something else. They'll be all wound up in loops. I give them a hard time about things. This one's a little new to me, although I've used them many times in the past. A biscuit joiner. Makes me hungry talking about biscuits. What a biscuit joiner does is has a little carbide blade that cuts a slot in the edge of something at a really particular measurement, so you can thusly fit them together. So let's put in a biscuit because it's really super simple. So we have two pieces of wood we want to fit together. Let's do that. Okay, I'm just gonna take you guys with me. And this is gonna seem a little. Come on, back this way. Up. Pour something good on my face. Two pieces of wood. So the other thing that I usually do to make them mate, although they do very nicely here, is let's just imagine that we're making like a countertop out of these, and we're going to use some other tools. So here we go. Walking around. There you are. Oh, what is this? It's a planer. Love my planer. Planer just exhausts outside there. I mean, it catches the chips in a can, but the blow over is a little dusty, so let's go outside. Just knock my speakers down. I'm going to put on hearing protectors because the planer is loud. Smooth surface. Now let's make mating edges. This is exactly what you do if you're going to build a laminate table or countertop or a stairs. Okay, so next tool is jointer. Ladder in the way. Okay, all these tools are connected to my dust collecting system, so I probably should turn it on. There it goes. Now there's suction. Square edges that will mate nicely. Yeah. So let's come back to the workbench. Okay, I thought I saw another question come in there. I did. Okay, I'm going to take off my protector. And I'm going to put the mating edges together. and we're going to mark them. Oh, wrong side of my bag. That thing right there. Speed square, also kind of a favorite tool. I'm going to put 2 biscuits. Just draw a line where you want a biscuit. It's really easy. And we swap this thing down. And it's perfect for this material. It's about 3/4 of an inch down. So I'm going to, so I need to push against the material to get the biscuit to cut. So I'm going to do something interesting here. I'm going to put a stopper on the bench that I can push against safely. And that will be accomplished with this stick right here. No. Oh, wait. Oh, this is, okay, I already have a bench block. Bench block is something small that you can screw to the bench anytime you need it. That's why we make wooden workbenches, because they're easy to attach things to. Stop fetching screws, and we'll just put this right down. Got a bad screw. One more. Like that. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Hey, it's Isla. Hey, Isla.
I'm working time. It's time for me to work with you guys.
Hey, Isla. I'm on live stream right now. So I'm just gonna make a cut.
Daddy.
So this has a mark that we line up to the spot on the block that we want to cut the slot, and that was my 6-year-old daughter. Has 2 beautiful lemon-shaped, half lemon-shaped slots. This is why people use biscuit joiners. There's nothing quite so quick as using these to cut your slots. So now that we have slots, we don't need our bench block anymore. Get it out of the way. And pouring down rain because it is spring in Washington, and that's just how it rolls. The reason I think I'm wanting to show you a biscuit joiner is because this is a good way that you can use all kinds of different wood that you have around. Whoops, I forgot. Biscuits. Lemon-shaped things are here. These are things that you buy. They come in different sizes, but there's kind of some standard sizes. And looks like they fit just fine, a little snug, but that's okay. And when you get them set up, and get the glue. Light's way too bright. This is my new glue bottle. I really love it. Okay. So I'm going to answer a question. Jeremy T. asks, do you use any products to seal cedar TNG ceilings on the interior of your houses? You do not need to seal ceilings because they're not touched Wood that gets touched a lot, like a door or something, needs a finish to kind of keep finger dirt from eventually getting all over it. And floors, of course, are exceptionally subject to getting dirt. But you don't have to seal your walls and ceilings if you don't want to. I do use various things. I use either a natural oil, like tongue, or if I don't want it to be quite as dark, I use a water-based polyurethane varnish. And there's lots of different kinds out there. So just because those are really easy to use, and they do actually seal the wood and protect it pretty well. And you don't see it. Like, you put it on and then it kind of disappears. D. Cole asks, any special methods that you use from the industry norm for your doors and windows for installation and waterproofing? Yes, I do have some of my own methods. There is no industry norm for doors and windows. Well, there are norms, plural. There's various ways to do it. Flange mounted window is a norm, and it's also highly recommendable. But the ceiling that goes around it, I think, is still a little fuzzy and sometimes can promote rot rather than prevent it. So I try to make the windows kind of a hybrid of the old techniques, which is where you build the siding and the window to reject the weather altogether. Than to stick too many membranous materials in particular patterns. Again, somebody will disagree with me and say, yeah, well, there's a proper method, and there are, but there's various norms out there, so keep that in mind. Jeremy T. asks, also, what is your take on concrete countertops in tiny houses on wheels? Have you used GFRC concrete for kitchens or bathroom floors? I don't know what GFRC concrete refers to. Glass fiber reinforced concrete. That's my guess. I haven't used glass fiber reinforced concrete, but it seems like a really good idea. I'm curious to know kind of its properties, how the glass fiber, is it a pre-made thing, is it a board, or is it something that you mix and pour? But just like fiber reinforced composites and plastics, it's a valid thing. Concrete countertops. I think concrete is great. Precasting a concrete countertop takes a little time and skill to do right. So they're a little heavy, and they also need to be supported, just like any stone countertop. So it adds up to a bit more weight than some of the other methods I've used and some of the pre-made kind of wood composite countertops. So I tend not to go that way, but I'm not averse to it. Concrete countertops are great. They're great things. But again, if you're casting it yourself and you've never done it before, it can take a bit of skill, and that's why concrete countertop makers get pretty darn good pay for their countertops. You price them out per square foot, and wow, they're like, the equivalent of marble or more. But I honestly like it better than some of the, well, marble's great too. I don't know. There's a lot of good building materials, and there's no, rule. It's just like, depends on what you prefer. We're coming up on an hour. I'm going to glue this thing up and, maybe bid my farewells. So gluing up, again, there's, kind of various theories on how persnickety you have to get about it, but, sometimes I just get enough on. In this case, I'm going to put some on my discs, but really they're just there for the alignment, and I'm going to tap them in. Should not be using a steel hammer for this because it will smack the side of the disc. I'm going to use a hard face mallet like this. Or hard face plastic mallet. I love my plastic mallet. Don't know what I do without it, and the funny thing is a little bit of glue here will actually lubricate the thing so it goes in the hole easier. And I'll put a little bit of glue over here for good measure. Some people paint glue on both sides, but don't worry about too much. There's how you paint glue with your fingers. This is Titebond commonly available wood glue in the world, and it's very good stuff. There's other kinds, but okay, so this is the side we wanted. We're going to fit these together. The lines line up reasonably well. Glue, what do? Wipe it on your pants. No, it comes off with water, but my favorite method to clean things off my fingers is take a handful of sawdust and use it as like a cleaning material, and it rubs off most of the whatnot. There, not so bad. Again, Teflon isn't toxic, so if it's toxic, wear rubber gloves. Wow, you can't beat that. I can help align it just a little bit. Yeah, now my pencil lines are dead on. Okay. The only thing left to do is put clamps on it. My two heavy-duty V-clamps, quick grips, they're called. Quick grips are incredible things. In fact, I'm going to clamp from the ends because I don't want to skew. Depending on what direction you're clamping from, you can skew your item that you're clamping up. I'm going to clamp on the flat like this. These clamps have quite a bit of strength, and if you can see what's going on in there, the glue is squeezing out. That's what you want. I'm going to remove some of the glue squeeze out. A damp cloth is the way to do it. If you want to get it off your workbench, a damp cloth is the way to do it. Or you can lay down saran wrap underneath and it won't stick to your workbench, and that's a good thing. But me, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to set this up over here so it just kind of drips on the pile of sawdust, which is, again, good reason to have a little bit of sawdust on the shop floor. And let's leave our glue on the workbench for the moment and wrap things up. Clean my tools away. And so, anyway, thanks for joining me today, you guys. Thanks for asking me your questions. Again, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer your questions. And if you're not asking enough, I'll go off and build some things while we're on the live stream. I do this every week, every week, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, my name is Abel Zyl. If you want to see notifications of this or any of the tiny tours of my tiny houses, which I do take pictures of them, I just never get to editing. But I will have a whole bunch of tours kind of in my pocket waiting to go up. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, and we'll see you roundabout. So keep building, please, and keep building creatively. I think the world needs a lot more of that. Hasta la vista. We'll see you soon.